This was a video I never thought I would make. At least not yet. No, this is not a YouTube apology video. Do not click away. But this was a difficult one for me to make. This is Gillian Anderson, Dana Scully, her look from the second X-Files movie called I Want to Believe. Now, it went completely against my true nature, my controlling A-type self, to do a later era Scully tutorial. My plan has always been to do all of her looks in chronological order. The last one you saw from me was season 3, so to jump ahead to 2008, this was hard for me. But, you know, it's 2020, so nothing is really going as planned. I typically have my hair cut specifically so I can film my Scully videos, but I shot this when salons were closed. And the joke was on me because within a few weeks of me filming this, salons reopened again. But oh well, wanted to be safe, and so thought to myself, what look could I do with my hair in its current state? And so I thought of this look from, as I said, the second X-Files movie, The X-Files, I Want to Believe. This is the longest we ever really see Scully's hair, and in the film her hair is full and mostly straight. So you can see here I'm doing a blowout, but this is not a curly, bouncy, huge blowout. This is generally actually how I dry my hair. So I don't do it often, but when I do, I start, as you saw earlier, with just a rough dry of my hair all over. And then I begin by putting my hair into sections to then blow dry with a large round brush. The round brush is there mostly to give the ends a little bit of a bend, to create enough tension to straighten out the shaft of the hair, and to smooth things out, make it nice and shiny and healthy. I put some heat protectant in my hair earlier, as well as some color protecting spray, but that's it for product. Didn't plan this, but check out my cute X-Files doodle phone case. It's just started raining. It seems every time I have to record a voiceover, it starts to rain. So, my hair is pretty straight naturally, but I do like to let it air dry most of the time to encourage a little bit of a natural wave and bring out any little bit of natural curl I might have. But once I do put heat or use a blow dryer on my hair, it will go straight. Gillian Anderson's hair is naturally curly, so I'm sure they had to spend a little bit more time than I will have. We see her pretty well throughout the film with her hair down and parted to the side, but not as deep of a part as she would wear traditionally in those first 9 seasons of the show. Not a deep side part. And because the film takes place when Scully is no longer an FBI agent, spoiler alert, and she's working as a doctor, as a pediatrician, pediatric surgeon, maybe? I don't know. She does it all. But when we see her at work, she mostly has her hair pulled back in a low, kind of loose bun, half pony thing, low around the nape of her neck. So as I continue to move around my head, I'm almost at the back part of my hair, and one of the best tips I've ever come across for blow drying the hair at the back of your head is to not try and pull the round brush straight up with your arms completely towards the ceiling, but to pull the brush forward towards the front of your head to create more tension. I find it's much easier on the arms, and it's a good visual to think about. So instead of your hand going straight up towards the ceiling, you bring it out parallel to your head. Back in the day, Sam and Nick Chapman from their Pixie Woo days used to do occasional videos where they'd bring their hairstylist on and she'd give tips, and that was when I learned from her. That was a goodie because I don't blow dry my hair that often because it's a ton of work. Yeah. But for Scully, you better believe I'm going to blow dry the heck out of my hair. And there she is. I'm giving it a little smooth over, and that's the hair. Sorry to zip through that, but the main focus here, who are we kidding, is the makeup. Now this is totally optional, but I'm going to put on a set of false nails. And the only ones I found that match the shape that Scully wears are French tips, but Scully does not wear a French tip, so I actually went through each false nail and removed the white tips with nail polish remover and then put a clear coat of polish on them to get that nice nude manicured look. I think they look pretty good. It was a lot of work. I hope it's appreciated. Okay, skincare is done. I've put on some extra moisturizer and primer. And the foundation I'm going to use is the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This is a beautiful foundation that will even out my skin a little bit, but it will be very lightweight and not heavy coverage. This is Modern Age New Millennium Scully. So this base is going to be quite different from the matte skin featured in all my previous Scully makeup tutorials. In fact, this is the first time I'm actually going to use a bronzer for my Scully look. I'm going to use this Milk Makeup Cream Bronzer on the high points of my face and around my hairline. And I have to say, this is the first time I've ever worn bronzer and haven't hated it and felt like a complete orange blotchy mess. The key I've found with this product particularly is to warm it up in the back of my hand and then apply it with a sponge. If I swipe it directly onto the skin, it can be a little too intense, and it can also disrupt the foundation underneath. So that's a tip for you. So after I've warmed up the skin with the bronzer, I'm also going to use a Milk Makeup Cream Blush for just a little bit of a hint of blush on the apples of my cheeks. Scully's always been a no makeup lady, but this is, more of a modern take on that. For my brows, I've started by brushing the hairs into the shape that I want. And then to fill them in, I'm going to be using the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade in the shade Caramel. And as you can see there, I'm using an angled brush and wiping the excess product on the back of the lid of the pomade. I saw someone do that in a tutorial, and it's actually a very helpful tip so that you don't get too much product. This brush that I'm using is actually from an art supply store, so it's not a makeup brush, but it's a recommendation from Katie Jane Hughes, and it's a great brush for eyebrows because it's so thin. It's the thinnest angled brush I've ever found, and that's great for drawing on individual brow hairs. So that's what I'm doing. This can be a really tricky product to use. I don't use it very often, but when I do, this is the way that I like to apply it. And this color is still quite warm, and warm enough to match my hair, but it's definitely not as red as the auburn shade in the same brow pomade. So this is another optional step, but I thought I'd draw on the beauty mark that Gillian Anderson has above her lip. You can see it there. Well, you can't see it, but that's the photo I'm working off of. So I'm using the leftover dip brow on a little brush, and it's a little silly, I know, because I have two even larger moles above my lips that are quite visible, but I just thought I'd go for it. So for eyeshadows, I'm going to be starting with a Clinique single eyeshadow, and this is the shade Foxy. And I love this eyeshadow. It's a really great, cool, taupey brown shimmer. But it's Clinique, so it's not overly glittery. It's just got a nice metallic sheen. Then I'm going to put all over the lids using a MAC 217. And then once I'm happy with the amount of color that's on there, I'll take a clean, larger fluffy brush and really blend out the edges. So this is supposed to look like she's not actually wearing makeup, but you know, it's a film, so she's wearing makeup, which is why I'm going in back and forth with the 217 and then that clean, large, fluffy brush so that there's absolutely no harsh edges. And it's just this beautiful sheen on my eyes. I'll also put that same Clinique color on my lower lash line and blending that out very well as well. The next eyeshadows I'm going to use are from this MAC Amber x9 palette. And I'm going to use an angled brush here. I'm using those two dark matte shadows from that palette, but any darkish matte brown shadow will do. The key is just using a very light hand for this. I'm also putting that same combination of shadows on the top lash line. Basically, I'm just trying to define the lash line and also try to make my eyes look a little less round without being like a harsh eyeliner look. And the key to that is only lining about 3/4 of the way across my lash line, not all the way around my eyes. And again, making sure that's really well blended. I'm going to take this Sigma tapered blending brush. It's hard to see exactly what's happening in Scully's eye makeup, but I thought I would do a little bit of shading in my crease with those same matte brown shadows and this tapered brush. So to cover the dark circles under my eyes, I'm going to use this product from Clarins called the Instant Concealer. This concealer gives great coverage, but I find still looks really natural and just kind of like melts into the skin. So I'm putting that on with a large eyeshadow brush from Real Techniques and then bouncing over to blend with my Beauty Blender. I'm going to set the under eyes with Clarins loose powder, and for the rest of my face I'm actually going to use what's called a Luminous pressed powder from Sleek Makeup. You'll see it's definitely too dark for me day to day, but when applied with a large fluffy brush, I find that it sets the makeup nicely without looking too matte, and goes along with that kind of bronzy, healthy look that Scully has. This is quite different from my own personal base routine, but I actually really love how my skin looked in the end. So I think I'm going to try these base products out again in the future. So I say this every time, I'm going to do just a little light contour on my nose. And I still think it is the case. It's not a huge theatrical drawn on nose, but taking my Smashbox contour palette and switching between two Real Techniques powder blue brushes in B04, one with the contour powder and one with nothing on it, to make sure that it's really well blended. And then taking the same palette using the highlight color, which is almost like a yellowish banana powder, to highlight just the top of my nose. So for mascara, I'm using this Maybelline Snapscara, and I'm using it specifically because I find it so disappointing. This mascara is not very black, and it doesn't really thicken my lashes or do much of anything. But that's what we want, because this is natural looking film makeup. So I'm putting a light coat on my top lashes before then really going through carefully with a spoolie to get off any excess. To go even lighter on my bottom lashes, I'm actually going to put a little bit of brown mascara on the back of my hand and then run the spoolie through that to get as little product as possible on the wand. So not even going in with the actual mascara wand. And then that'll complete the eye look. It's very natural, just a little bit of definition. And I'll do my little dance and then I'll draw my lips on. So I'm going to start off by making my top lip shape wider than mine naturally is. And to do that, I'm using this classic MAC lip liner in the shade Spice. And then I will blend over the liner with a brush to soften the line. I find that I have to remind myself to do that when wearing lip liner. It makes it look a lot more natural and less harsh. And to fill in the bottom lip, I'm going to start the line towards the center of my mouth. So further in, if you can see that, from the natural outer corner of my mouth. I'll also slightly underdraw my bottom lip since it is so much larger than my top lip. So on top of this liner, I'm going to combine 2 shades of this unusual and discontinued Maybelline makeup product called a Stain Gloss. So I'm taking a little bit of a red and a brown shade mixed together, and with a brush I'm going to mix them together and really buff them into my lips. The texture and formula of this product is unlike anything I've ever used. Alone, it may not be the most successful product, but for this look on top of the liner, it adds some sheen without being glossy, and it adds some like neutral color to the lips. It probably just wasn't marketed properly or named properly, but it is beautiful. It's comfortable to wear, and like I said, gives a sheen to the lip without being thick or gloopy like a gloss. So that's my reference photo for the costume. And the most important thing, the first element that you see there is Scully's cross necklace. So because in this film, Scully's no longer an FBI agent, she doesn't have her badge and gun and other icons of her previous job. So I thought it was really important to have the cross on because she still wears it and it's still emblematic of her character. And I have a bad metal allergy, but I was able to find this necklace online, and it's actually made of stainless steel. If you are able to wear jewelry, I would also add a small pair of pearl earrings, but that's not an option for me at this point. So, after the success of the first X-Files movie in 1998, and with the original series ending in 2002, there was a lot of speculation about whether there would be another X-Files movie. I personally thought they were going to aim to release one in 2012 because that was the year the original series, proselytized that the alien apocalypse would occur. And maybe if the second film had been more successful, we would have had a third one by then. Too late. Whoops. So that's my first costume option. And the second one is Dr. Scully. So when she's around the hospital, I'll put on another button-down shirt, this time navy, and put on my white lab coat. And it's as simple as that. 2 looks in one. And as I mentioned, as Dr. Scully, she means business. She pulls her hair back, And so I will fuss about a bit and then tie my hair back, and that's the completed look. So the second X-Files movie, I want to believe, was generally not considered a success. The box office turnout was much lower than the first film. Some fans and a lot of critics generally panned it, but speaking as a completely unbiased X-File, I still really enjoy it. I think there's a place for it within the X-Files canon. I don't think it's fair to compare it to Fight the Future, the first X-Files film. That film was made on such a different scale. It had literally twice the budget of this second one. Fight the Future was a blockbuster action film, and it was made and marketed as such. It was like the X-Files series on steroids. Plus, it was put out at the height of the show's popularity, bookended by the end of season 5 and beginning of season 6. With this second film, there were so many more hoops to jump through within the story. The series had ended, so the writers had to come up with good reason to reunite Mulder and Scully. Add to that this film was written right before the Writers Guild of America strike. And in fact was rushed to get completed before the strike action occurred. So not ideal situation. But like I said, I still enjoy it. There are still redeeming factors, in my opinion. It's got an interesting case at the heart of it. Callum Keith Rennie is in it. He's a great Canadian actor that I think brings a real great creepy vibe to it. I've always loved Billy Connolly. I think he's great. Exhibit was surprisingly great in his role. And, Mitch and Jillian were amazing as always. I was on the fence about Duchovny here. Come at me if you want. What I don't like about it, I'm not a huge fan of Amanda Peet. And I thought a lot of the dialogue was a little bit clunky. There was some real, corny, cheesy, just easy jokes in it that I just don't think were necessary. But otherwise, it's Mulder and Scully. Their chemistry hasn't gone anywhere. It was filmed in Vancouver. Give it a try. If you made it this far, wow, thank you so much. I'm going to go back in time and keep going through the seasons of Scully's looks, if I can get back on track hair-wise. Thank you so much for watching. If you try this or my other Scully looks out for Halloween, please tag me on Instagram or Twitter or leave me a comment here. Thank you so much for watching.